Hi, everybody, and welcome to another one of my school leader interviews. This is season 2, episode 4, 5, 4. I don't know. It's one of the two. But we're going through lots and lots of interviews at the moment. I'm absolutely delighted at this point to be joined by Dr. Victoria Carr, who is the head teacher of Woodside School in Ellesmere Port. Have I said that right?
Woodlands.
Not Woodside. I keep getting mixed up because it's Wirral. We know Woodside is Wirral. That's why. So Woodlands Primary School in Ellesmere Port, and I was going to actually interview Vic, wasn't I, last October, and then I just never got around to it. I couldn't do it again. I didn't have a car, so I couldn't do it. But anyway, absolutely brilliant. And basically, as usual, the format is. First part of the interview is loads of quick fire questions that'll probably put you on the spot and make it really awkward for you. Then
I'm old and I'm tired. Remember this. Be kind to old people, Tom. Come on, not too quick.
You've said you're old about 3 times, but but anyway, before we actually started the interview, but lots of quick fire questions. Then we've got some like digging deeper leadership and management questions as well. The aim of these interviews really is just to, for me, it's on a purely selfish level, is because I'm interested in how different leaders operate and their beliefs and their ways of going about things can be so markedly different. And I think from the feedback I've had from the first couple I did, it's been really helpful for other people to explore their own leadership styles. And actually, it's also been helpful for the leaders themselves to reflect on their own situations or contexts and so on. So starting off, what's the first thing you grab in the morning?
Well, I told you earlier that I ran these questions past some of my senior. I'm smiling my head off. I ran some of these questions past my senior leadership team today, and they know that I've got like a really filthy sense of humor. They told me to filter this bit really carefully, and I know they're watching right now, so I've got to make sure I filter this. So actually, the first thing I grab is my phone, I have to say. Normally at about 5:30, I'm like with my eyes closed, grabbing around for it to turn off the alarm, because the hideous alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning. I'd like it to be something else, like reaching out for some grapes or, my sun lotion as I'm lying on the beach in the Maldives, but it isn't. It's my phone to turn off my alarm.
But that is early, isn't it? 5:30.
It is, but I don't know. When you try and carve out hours in the day, I guess it has to come before work and after work. So half 5 it is.
So what time do you get into work then?
Well, this varies actually. So if I'm up and at 'em at 5:30 and feeling good and on top of the world, I try and do some exercise for an hour. I'm really lucky actually. I've got a shed at the bottom of my garden. I do some exercise in there.
Oh, that's too successful for me. We need to stop this interview right now, because I already tweeted yesterday about my weight gain problems. All right, this isn't helping me. You get up at 5:30 and do exercise every day. Brilliant.
I try. I've got to say today I didn't. I just lay there and it was a bit raining and I was feeling a bit fed up. So I just thought, I'm not going to get up and exercise. And I lay there like a Viking under this furry blanket I've got. And I'm not really a Viking at all. I'm not like a warrior or anything. So I just lay there, in fact, like a little mouse under my furry blanket
thinking,
not today. That's how leaderish I was today. Not at all. So yes. I tend to get into work probably about anywhere between 7:30 and about 8:15. It all just depends on the day.
Okay, so it's not too early. I'd say really average.
I start working early because obviously, stupidly, about a year ago, I put work emails on my mobile phone, so I could be looking at work emails at midnight. I could be working on them, from 5:30 in the morning. So it just depends. At the moment, with the whole COVID thing, I'm checking the account that we have for. We set it up for sort of COVID notifications. So if someone's been for a test, they'll email us on this particular email address. So from 5:30, I know what's happening, who's in, who isn't in, and so on. So yeah. So although I'm not in work, I'm still working. Most head teachers will tell you that you don't have to be in to be doing.
Of course.
Teachers will tell you that.
I think the friends I've got who are head teachers are probably working all hours at the minute, to be honest. I think it's just a strange period, isn't it? Full stop for everybody. But I think for head teachers, it's piled on the hours, weirdly, even more. So who is your biggest inspiration in life?
So I tried to have a think about this, and it might sound a bit contrived, but I get inspiration in different areas, if I'm honest with you. So my mum's a big inspiration of mine, and I guess I already know this because on your questions you mentioned it, but in my TED talk I talk a little bit about when I was small, and so my mum has raised 4 happy, well-rounded, successful adults, which in itself is a massive credit to her and the rest of my family who chipped in to kind of keep us on the straight and narrow. But yeah, so my mum's a massive source of inspiration, actually, because no matter what life has given her, she's always managed to attack everything with love and patience. And since having children myself, I've got an almost 16 and an almost 17-year-old, and I feel like in some ways they inspire me to be a better person than I perhaps would ordinarily be. I don't know. So I kind of get that, and then also, and again, I haven't been drinking. It's Monday night. I'm on water, but I tend to get inspiration from quotes that I might read, which people will often say, "Oh, you share those on Twitter. They're great." So I get quotes, and I come across things, and I think, you know what? Yeah, take 5 minutes and think this through. And so what other people have written, and in fact also from nature. So I'm a really keen photographer, an amateur photographer. That sounds far more grandiose than it is. I take photos all the time and I enjoy doing it. And so I think nature can offer lots of inspiration. So as for a person, I don't know, maybe somebody really amazing like Michelle Obama. But then I follow this thing on LinkedIn about NASA, and they often have these incredible women who've done the most amazing things. And I think, yes, wouldn't it be amazing to have that kind of brain who can do physics and maths? No, not me. So I get inspiration from all kinds of things. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? Not a good answer.
No, no.
Someone to give you, but I don't.
No, I like quotes. Quotes are good. What do you think it is that people notice about you?
Okay, so I asked my senior leadership team this.
That's cheating, though. That's cheating.
I'm not going to tell you what they said. No, to be fair, they said that I've got huge energy and something else, I can't remember what. But what do I think people notice about me? I'm always smiling. I think 99% of the time I'm smiling. And when I'm not smiling, it is really visible. I've been told before now that I've got an emoji face. So it's probably my emoji face. I can't hide anything. I'd be so pants at poker because I'd just be like... So yeah, probably my smiley face.
And what do you hope people notice about you?
What did I say when I was thinking this through? What do I hope people notice? I hope that they notice that I'm kind and compassionate. Oh, I know what they said. They said that they're always really surprised at how I can read other people. Like I'm really intuitive. And I thought, yes, I'll take that. Intuitive on a Monday morning. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so I hope that people see that if they're not happy, I can normally sense it in them, and I'll ask them if they're okay, and check in on them and try and help out where I can. So what do I hope they notice? That I'm kind.
How many are in the leadership team at your school?
I've got a big school. So there's 3 of us. I do a little name shout out.
How many is that?
Quite a bit. I'll tell you, I'll do a little name shout out. You're so impressed. I'll be like a celebrity. Okay, so here it goes. We've got Sue Moss, who's the admin guru. We've got Claire and Alice, who just lead up the best pastoral team ever. And then we've got Shazza, who's my deputy, who hates the name Shazza. She'll be mortified I said it. And then we've got Laura, Lottie, Lou, and Arzu, who are all my kind of phase leaders. And that's a lot of senior leaders, isn't it?
Have you got any more? Have you got a second list?
No, I've got a lot of distributed leaders, which is even better, isn't it? So got a big school though. I'm really blessed. So yeah,
that's pretty cool. Hopefully you haven't asked this one to them, although you may have. What is your biggest weakness or fatal flaw?
No, I did ask them.
Oh.
To see if they'd be honest with me, and they were.
Yeah. You think they were?
Because they know I can tell if they're not. I'm like, that's not true. So I owned up to it, and it's bad. So I've got absolutely zero patience. So I have to really work hard on this. So like I said, right, guys, we're gonna put the camo nets up. So I went and asked the site maintenance guys to put the camo nets up, and they were like, we'll do that. And then by the next day, it wasn't done. So I was like, right, I'm doing it myself. And so it was like, get a ladder, get the nail gun, come on, let's go. And everyone was like, what are you doing getting up a ladder? And I was like, well, I wanted it done, so I'm doing it now. So I've got no patience with things, which is bad. And also, I press send on emails before I take a deep breath, although I'm learning, because if something really fires me up and I'm dead passionate about things and I think there's been an injustice done, I'm like, I'm going to sort this out. This is not happening. So I'll be like, I have to
I love that though. I'm the same as that. I'm the same as that. I'm exactly the same as that. So I don't necessarily think that's a weak. I guess it's a weakness if you're not careful what you say or the words you use and all that stuff. Yeah.
I know about the words I use, but I just I get so, come on, this is bad. We need to sort this out. And then I think, I wish I've learned though. I've probably sent 2 of those emails in my head teacher career, and I have learned.
Yeah. Deep breath and take a step back. What is your biggest strength?
Probably the same thing. So I'm really passionate about things. I'm passionate about children. Yeah. I'm like a massive advocate for kids, and I guess pretty much what they've noticed about me. So I'm really intuitive and I'm compassionate, and I look out for people, and I really want the best for everyone. So I'm always helping people and promoting what they do and trying to find the little bit about them that's really kind of, I don't know, hidden away, and bring it out to the fore and get them to shine. I love doing stuff like that. I absolutely love it. So yeah.
That's brilliant. Comfortable silences or non-stop conversation?
I think a mixture of both, and I think it depends who and what the context is. I can quite happily sit for hours and not talk, and read with someone in the room, but equally, like now, I can chat away. If I'm really passionate about something, I can chat away all day, and if it's not about me, I'm really good at chatting about it. So about school, I can talk all day long. If it's about me, I'm a bit like, both depending.
Okay. And what's better, being nice or being fair?
Straight away, being fair. Absolutely. Being fair.
Yeah. So like justice over.
Yeah, and I think you can be nice, even if you have to deliver difficult messages. You can still be nice, but I think once you've established to everybody that you're fair and there's equality, and everyone's handled with respect, and it's all done very professionally. And the niceness comes because people know that you're not doing it because you've got anything, a personal vendetta, or you've got an issue with them. They know that you work with integrity, and everything that you do is fair then. So that's kind of how I like to operate. It's tricky, and sometimes you have to have tricky chats with people, which is a bit, it's not like the.
How do you find that, the difficult conversations? Is that something you feel that you're good at, or is that something that you?
I feel like I've grown into it.
Yeah. Do you think you?
Go on.
I was just going to say, do you think that you are naturally good at that, or do you think it's something that you've had to learn on the job?
I think probably I've always been like it, even with my family growing up. I remember, I can recall several conversations, which I won't bore you with now, that I've had with my siblings and my mum and everything. And I've literally said, you're probably not going to want to hear this, or this is probably going to be hurtful, but this is the truth. And so I've many times had to say things that have been painful, but I think sometimes it's better to have it out there and honesty than it is to kind of try and backpedal. And
Yeah, 100%.
It's important, isn't it? Truth and people having faith in you, and all those things are kind of interlinked. I think it's really difficult to separate them out, and I think that comes all together with living with integrity and working with integrity as well.
Are you able to? I mean, nobody can go through and it goes fine. So, are you able to let things go?
Oh yeah, easily.
If something goes wrong, can you move on in your head?
Absolutely, and never bear grudges. I mean, I'm divorced. It's common knowledge. I don't have any grudges against my ex-husband. You know, if parents have had a go at me, particularly kind of vicious email, I look for the kernel of truth in it. I look for the nub of what the problem is, and I look at it from a parent's perspective, and I think, what is this really telling me? Let me try and fix the problem. I would say I don't have a massive ego, because I'm just like, this is just a job, and you know, it's a job I do well, it's a job I love, but it doesn't define me. So I'm not about my ego being protected or bruised. I'm just like, how can we get the best possible outcome from any situation, even really pants situations where you think, you know, that's a bit rubbish. Just try and look at the situation without emotion, and handle what the problems are and tackle what the issues are, and then just move on. Because honestly, life is very short. I joke about my age, but I can say at my age now, nearly middle age, that life is very, very short. And anyone who's holding grudges and doing that whole thing, I just think, literally, why? It's just not worth it. So just move on. Just move on.
And what about ruminating on decisions? Do you find that you sometimes think about decisions you've made, or do you feel that you're able to just make a decision and move on from it?
I do the ruminating beforehand, I think. Yeah, I try, and again, I'm really lucky. I try not to be autonomous. I will make the final decision, and I will take all the flack that comes from that. But before we get there, there's normally layers of conversation and challenge, and I actively welcome my senior leaders. In fact, anyone challenging me, because I'd sooner they challenge me and I change my ideas than look a total fool or make a mess or do something catastrophic that's going to impact on like nearly 600 children and, you know, nearly 100 adults who work with me. So the decision-making process for me is really simple. I have an idea, I take it to my senior leaders. Sometimes they have to rein me in because I'm way too enthusiastic, and I'm like, yes, let's do this and that. And they're like, let's just think this through. So we have this whole thing, and then I'll go, and I'm really cross about this, and they're like, no, let's think about this. What would they? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So by the time we've got to the final point, I'm normally very placid, and we've got a really good decision, and it's all about children. And they'll go, what do you always say? It's all about children. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly right. So whenever I get off track and start getting a little bit, they just like gently nudge me back on, which is what I need probably.
That's good. So moving on to kind of more teaching and leadership. So what's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you in class as a teacher?
I couldn't think of anything.
Head teacher.
I can't really say what they are because they involve other people.
That's right. Don't do it. I don't want to get sued this week. It'd be better for me.
Exactly. Normally there's enough going on. But what I would say is pretty much what I said before. I once sent an email because I just felt such a keen sense of injustice in my very, very early days of my first headship. And I guess I kind of knew what I was doing at the time, like poking a big bear with like loads of wasps' nest around it. And anyway, I got stung a few times and it was quite painful. And I was like, eat. But then I thought, I took one for the team, and the outcome was good for the school. So in the end, it was okay. But I did think, ouchies, I won't do that again. Not even for the team, not even for the school. And then I did it again a couple of years later, about 3 years later. But yeah, it wasn't embarrassing so much as just like not the most enjoyable thing. Yeah, I hear you.
What was your worst day as head teacher, and what was your best day as head teacher?
Well, the worst day was in my last school, actually. Basically, with the parents of one of our children, the dad died very suddenly, and he was the same age as me, and it was just really sad. It was a couple of weeks before the end of the summer term, and it was interesting, actually. This has all been resolved, amicably since, but the wife of the person who died hadn't liked me very much. She was another teacher in a different school, and she'd been quite, she'd been quite tricky with me. And then, bless her husband died, and it was horrible. And I just, as I say, I never bear grudges. I just went straight into care mode and like, what can I do to help you? Just tell me what you need. So she asked me if I would liaise with the high school, which I did, and met her, and we kind of did all kinds of stuff behind the scenes that it's not really important for me to tell you, but she was so thankful. Actually, she came into the office, and I just didn't know what to say to her. I was like, I don't know what to say to you. This is just the most awful thing. And she thanked me, and she said, I've been really quite mean to you in the last few years, and it's all been pointless, really, because actually you're a really nice person. And then she made a mention of me at the funeral, the actual funeral of her husband, and was so thankful of what we'd done as a school to help her children. And none of it was necessary. This poor woman was dealing with a life-changing experience. That was quite humbling, I think, and it was quite sad. So that's probably my saddest day as a head, when I thought, how do you best support children through that? And I guess it's probably because my dad died when I was small, and it's all a bit like, I don't know how you support people through that. I remember it wasn't terribly well done when I was at school, but then that was a whole complicated scenario. So I don't know, maybe it hit home. I don't know, but it was a really difficult time. Other things were going on in the school, and then that happened, and it was just like, whoa, that was really hard. But my best days ahead. I've had loads and loads of best days, loads and loads and loads. Too many to count. More best days than bad.
Yeah, fantastic. When you're hiring teachers, what kind of things do you look for, and who are the perfect candidates?
Well, I always say to people who come and visit me in school that, or even shortlisted candidates, really, that usually by the time teachers get there, they're all equally well qualified. They've all passed their, final teaching practice and all of that stuff. But what I'm looking for are people who are, firstly, good team players, happy people. Life throws enough, I'm not going to swear, but life throws enough stuff at you without, you need people who are going to be with you and your team, and they're not going to come and cause you any issues, and, having a good,
like
happy
team players. Team players.
Yeah, and a good, happy disposition. And you know what? Someone who actually likes people and children, because 99% of what you do isn't paperwork, it's relationships. So if you meet someone and they look miserable when they come to your school, I'm just like, this is a school. If you came to my school, you would only see people who are smiling and welcoming and, calm. And that's what we kind of look for. And one of the things that I said earlier that my team tell me I'm good at is really searching those kind of people out very, very quickly. I can tell if they're warm or not. And I don't want to be around cold people. I get cold enough as it is, which is why I'm in my woolly jumper. I want warmth and love and happiness and sunshine in anywhere I work, because I'm there all day. So, yeah, I think everyone's qualified technically, but whether they fit our team, and they have to be prepared to go the extra mile, because that's probably another downfall of mine. That's kind of like minimal expectation that people are going to put the time in for kids.
Yeah.
Does that sound bad?
I hear you.
I
Not
don't
necessarily. It just depends it just depends what the extra mile is. I mean, for me, it's like if it's something like you said that's going to impact the kids, and the teacher wants to do it, and they want to do it because they're a teacher, and it's going to have that direct impact on the kids, then I think most teachers go the extra mile in that respect and want to go the extra mile. I think the difficulty is when people are being asked to go the extra mile in different areas, whether it be stuff that data or stuff that doesn't matter,
That all gets, we find ways of managing all of that. That's not about people. And that doesn't mean to say I care about children making progress. But I think there are ways of managing things like that teachers just don't need. Where we don't need to do it, we just cut it out. We just want to work with children.
Of course. Where do you think new leaders go wrong?
Oh gosh, where do they go wrong? Trying to prove too much to people. but I guess that comes from whoever appoints them and in what capacity they're appointed. So, for example, my new senior leaders, I wouldn't just say to them, "I'll crack on, do that," because then they're out thinking, "Oh my life, how do I do this?" And they're panicking, they're trying to prove to me they're doing so that everyone gets coached. I think coaching is such an undervalued thing, and done poorly at times as well. And I think if it's done well by someone, then it can bring new leaders on absolutely brilliantly and do it in a kind of holistic way and a way where they're not afraid to try new things and experiment, but not to be kind of making terrible mistakes that will damage their confidence. I think if your confidence is knocked as a new leader, it can be really tricky to kind of pick yourself up. And if you haven't got the backing of the head, or if the head hasn't got the backing of the governors, it can be a massive challenge. So yeah, I think it's kind of like a two-way thing. If leaders, new leaders, have got the support of people around them and they feel supported, then I think they can literally reach for the stars. And if it goes wrong, not to worry, because they'll fall somewhere not too far away. But I think if they haven't got the back, it's just not great for anyone.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? What does success as a school leader look like to you?
I think your staff and your children wanting to come to school, your parents not necessarily liking all the time what you say, but respecting where it comes from, children making progress just because they're doing things that they love to do. I hate the whole SATs agenda. Please don't ask me a question about SATs, because I want to stay smiley. I don't agree with them at all. So I think our curriculum is great. I'm dead excited about it. I think if the children are excited about it, they're going to want to come to school. And if they step off the plate, then the parents will help you. Just having that mutual respect. So success, I don't know. I'm never going to get everything right ever in a million years. And if a parent points out I've done something wrong, and I think they've got a point, I'm like, oh, actually they've got a point. Just put it right, because it's not about me. It's about getting the best possible experience for the children, and by extension the parents, because if you haven't got the parents on board with you, how can you drive that learning forward? Because the children are only with you a few hours a day, and if it's not happening at home as well, again, you just want to hide into it. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm completely wrong, by the way. I should have said at the start, these views are all my cranky old lady views. They don't have to be like, they're not going to be shared with everyone.
I'm sure, hopefully others aren't either. No, that makes perfect sense. Digging a bit deeper now, I watched your TED talk.
Water before I do this, and this is genuinely water. I just like to pretend I'm posh and drink it out of a posh glass. Daydreaming.
That is definitely wine. Like, there's no doubt. I'm joking. I watched your TED talk where you talk very openly about your journey, and you talk about being an unassuming boss, but still being a boss. What does the term unassuming boss mean to you? What does that mean?
Well, sometimes people will come to school and they will not, in a room of people, they will not automatically think that I am the boss, because I don't look like a head teacher often, or even a boss, and I don't sort of like command the room or anything like that.
Okay.
So I am a massive team player, and I've already said to you, part of my impatience the other day was, for example, throwing up some cargo nets that I wanted doing. And I don't know, you wouldn't expect every school maybe to have the head teacher up a ladder or doing bits and pieces. You kind of expect them in the office. And you know what? 50% of the time, 90% of the time at the moment, I am in the office behind a desk, behind a computer. But I really do like getting stuck in and getting involved and doing things that give me my passion for it all back, because I absolutely love my school. I love working with everybody I work with. I've got the best team. I know everyone says this, but genuinely it's true. I could not work with a better bunch of people, and it shows. You should come over and visit after COVID. I bet you'll want a job with us. You'll want to come and work with us.
Not with primary school.
Sure,
It's not about me wanting a job. It's about you not wanting me near that school. Because honestly, like the snot and
you could get your early years freak on. You could do that. You'd be
in early. Off my hand, sir. No, I can't. I can't do that. I no. It's a no. It's a no from me. Don't get me wrong. I'm good at like pulling silly faces, you know, and stuff like that. Like doing like, but no, teaching with very young children. To know. So you are still a reservist soldier, is that right?
I am, yeah. I've only recently started that project this time last year.
Okay. So what kind of brought you into that, if you like? What got you going? Is that a comment from is he in your SLT?
No. He is a soldier. He is a soldier.
Thank you, Paul.
One of the hecklers.
It's a good heckle. What kind of brought you into that? What got you into being a reservist soldier?
Okay, so you talk about my TED talk. So this won't be apparent, I know, to many people, but I'm quite a reserved and shy person, and I struggled for quite a long time with the whole imposter thing. I'm sure lots of people do, and I just a couple of years ago, my friends just said to me, "Come on, Vic, you've got to get a grip on yourself. You know, you've got to get out there and stop this." So I said, you know, okay, and I'll just say yes to everything. So then I was asked about the TED talk, and I panicked for months and months. I was physically sick the morning I did it. Physically sick. If you've watched it, you can hear my voice. I'm like, ah. My daughter's watched it and
no, I didn't think that. I thought you seemed
it was just the most cringe-worthy thing. And then people who have known me for 25 years were absolutely speechless because it's stuff I'd never talked about. And there were bits of it that I couldn't bring myself to say. So I wanted to say at the time I just couldn't bring myself to say that it's for me, it's been easier to just throw myself into a run or an hour's exercise and actually sit there and think and admit that, you know, I feel socially awkward and I get anxious going out. I'm not a shopper, I hate shopping. I don't go to the pub. I'm quite boring, and people are like, no, you're like the life and soul. And the answer is, I'm really not. I'm just like quite a quiet little person. And so the TED talk came from the same place as the army thing. So in this whole spirit of saying yes, I agreed to do a TED talk and expose my entire life to the whole world, which was just very painful. And as I say, you probably tell by my voice. And then I also agreed to go to a dinner with a good pal of mine who said, right, come on, Vix, get your posh frock on, do your hair. Miracle of miracles. I actually brushed my hair that day. And get to this dinner. So I went to the dinner and I sat next to two really nice men, and they were chatting away saying, oh, so, you know, Dr. Carr, are you a medical doctor or an academic doctor? And I said, oh, no, God, no, I'm not a medical doctor, nothing like that. I'm just an academic doctor. And they were like, what? This means you've done some huge bit of brainiac work. And I sat and thought, oh, that's what people think about that. Oh, I just thought it was like something I did in my spare time to occupy myself. And they were really impressed. And so they were like, tell us more. So I sat between these two lovely, very charming gentlemen who just basically grilled me on my whole life. And by the end of it, I thought, blimey, maybe I'm not as boring as I thought I was before the night began. And so they said, what are you going to do now that you finish your doctorate? And I was like, well, I don't know, you know, I'm bored. I swore no more study. What am I going to do in the holidays? I don't know. I was working about 18, 20 hours a day on my new school where I am now, trying to turn that around. And I thought, eventually I'm going to be looking for something to do. What shall I do? And they said, you know what you should do? You should join the reserves. You've got this, you know, you're up every day doing fairs and you're really sporty. And I was like, no, wait, I'm way too old. You know, that's a young man's game. And they said, no, you can do it till you're 52. So keen to have a challenge as I am, I thought, really? Let's give this a go. And at every step of the way, I have just assumed that I would I don't know, not pass the physical test or not pass
Yeah.
and at every step of the way, I managed to pass it. So lo and behold, in the summer, there I was, camoed up and blinking, helmet on and weapon system in hand and blinking NSP in it and, I don't know, weapon handling test in it and making a complete hash of the whole thing probably. But yeah, so I am a reserve soldier.
That's really interesting. Do you bring that in with the kids and that? Do you talk to the kids about that or not in terms of like, no, you don't encourage them? Because I would think that would be a really inspirational thing, you know, to share with the kids.
No, not yet. I mean, I guess I haven't done an assembly, which I love doing an assembly on a Monday. It's normally like,
yeah, because if it happened over the summer, then it's going to be recent.
And in fact, you know, the COVID thing, I've not seen whole bunches of children now since February time, which is absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it? But I see them in the morning and in the afternoon queuing up on the gate, and actually, it's such a joy. I've got this year 3 boy again. I'll just do a little name check. Called Jacob. He is an absolute scream. So he queues up with me in the morning, and he says things to me like, he looks at me like this. So, miss, how much do you weigh? And I'm like, how rude, how rude. Are we getting into this, Dad? How much do you weigh? And we have the most hilarious conversations about all kinds of things, from what we weigh to what we think about our mums and everything. And it's the joy of my day because of the whole bubble thing. I don't go into bubbles all over. I don't visit anyone. We don't meet as a staff. And really, your day's kind of spent in the office and a bit like, so. Yeah. But I don't even know where I went with that. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. The army thing. Yes, that's how I ended up being a reservist. And that's probably really I would say she's not really cut out for it. She's like a square peg trying to jam herself into a round hole. I'll tell you what I did. Right?
Like your imposter syndrome is seriously there. Like you should be like, I'm a reservist. That's proper achievement.
I'm going red now because I'll tell you this one thing, right? This is how I shouldn't be in the army. And then we can move on. So we've got this platoon commander, forgive me, called Dan Mills, who wrote a book called Sniper One. And he's like this really important dude. And I didn't even realize he'd written a book. And me being cheeky all over, I just couldn't restrain myself. So I kept getting told, everyone kept getting told, do your pouches up, because you have to wear this stuff called webbing with pouches all on.
Yeah.
Do your pouches up. So it was all this like buddy system, looking out for one another. So one day it was absolutely lashing down on Salisbury Plain. Everyone was miserable. We were all formed up in the rain. We were fed up. And there, walking over to us, was the platoon commander with his pouches undone. So everybody was like in the ranks going, oh my God, who's going to tell him? Who's going to tell him? I thought, this is my moment to get my own life.
Oh, no.
Sir. So he comes over and he says, looks at me with a beady stare, Carr. And he says, remember what I've told you about being cheeky? I said, no, sir, this time I'm not going to be cheeky. I said, but you know how you talk about the buddy system? He's like, yes, Carr. And everyone's looking, and he's looking at me thinking, where's this going? And I said, come here, sir, just turn to the side. I'll do your pouches for you. And I was so excited. And he just looked, his face was like this. He was trying hard not to laugh, and he said, right, get down and give me 20. So I just put my weapon on my back, had my webbing on. It's not easy. I had to do 20 press-ups. It was lashing with rain. And then he walked off laughing his head off. The entire platoon was killing themselves. They were like, Vic, that was epic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking one for the team. But that is why I shouldn't be in the army, because you know what? That ended up being in my report as should be more respectful to senior ranks.
Did it really?
Yeah, it was taken out, but yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, that shouldn't be in the army.
Yeah, okay. On the 9th of October, you tweeted, it's been a tough all week, capped off by a tough all day, having a cry. That is all. Is sharing your vulnerability important to you as a leader?
Vulnerability or honesty? I guess it's being honest. I mean, I could fake it and pretend that I was superhuman and like Teflon with nothing affecting me. But then what kind of human being would that make me? You know, I do not find this job easy. This is not an easy job. It's a lovable, enjoyable job, but it is a mental challenge every day. And at the moment, I'm worried about so much stuff. It's I'm worried about that's a joke. I think that was tongue in cheek for sure. I'm worried about stuff, to be honest. So Friday, of course, we've been really lucky. I'm touching wood. We haven't had to close a bubble yet or anything. We've kept the school going, all the children learning.
Yeah.
I'm like, get in. This is like, we're in the 7th week of learning uninterrupted. Yeah. For me, it feels like a miracle. So we've had people go off, and that's one of my senior leaders. Don't worry, I'll pay it tomorrow. But yes, I haven't had anyone going off or anything like that until Friday. One of our lovely teachers had to stay home with her child who goes to a different school because her child's bubble had closed. And suddenly we were thrown into this quandary of the pay policy doesn't cover that. So here are these lovely, lovely people, passionate, driven teachers who work with me, and I love every one of them, who all of a sudden, like, okay, thanks a lot. You worked in WIT, you worked through Easter holidays, and now you're doing what the government have told you have to do, which is stay at home with your child because their bubble has closed in their school. So they've got to stay home. They're fine, you're fine, no one's got any symptoms. So do you know what? I can't pay you. I was like, what? So I was on the phone to my union, on the phone to the HR. No one's got any answers. So I'm there, like, with my head in my hands, thinking, how can I? This is fundamentally, ethically and morally wrong that people are doing what they've been told to do, and now I'm not paying them, even though they've worked over and above. It blew my mind completely. And that, plus the fact, my sister, I love her to bits. She was 40 last Wednesday. This is a woman who is all the best parts of me on steroids, maxed out to like 150,000%. 20 years ago, she was told she had a week to live. She's a medical miracle. They put her on a drug trial. She was the only person out of that group to survive. I gave her a bone marrow transplant. All this stuff has happened to her, poor girl, and worse than that even. And if she was 40 on Wednesday, and we're in this local lockdown on the Wirral, which is where I live. Obviously, I work in Cheshire, but I'm on the Wirral. Couldn't go to her house, couldn't celebrate with her. That felt just really pants. My mother retired. She's been in nursing for years now at Clatterbridge. She's been an auxiliary nurse for years. Couldn't celebrate with her. My son left home at the weekends. We were going to have a family meal on Friday. I've got a big family. None of them could come around. And then that happened, and school's just been really busy. And here was the final straw on Friday, which is why I was sat crying. So
Tom Rogers asked you for an interview. That was the final straw.
No, he didn't ask until the weekend. So the final straw came. I drove all the way from work to outside my mother's house. I was going to leave her this cake on the doorstep. And the cake just just fell, like literally just fell. These lovely cakes, like lemon meringue cakes, which were probably to die for, my favourite thing in the world, smashed onto the blinking footwell. So I had meringue icing all in the footwell of the car. Her cakes absolutely mangulated. And I just sat and thought, I literally give up today. I literally do not know what to do for the best. What I'd like to do is someone else to come an adult for me right now. But then when you're nearly 46, who else is going to step in? No one stepped in. So I was like, yeah, the only thing for it is go home and have a gin and tonic, which, by the way, this is not a gin. This is the glass, but not the gin. So that's how it went down on Friday. So vulnerable, no. Honest, yes. Some days are really tricky because you've got your home, your work, the moral dilemma of being a leader, other people expecting you to make the right decisions. However, the people who are above us, quite far above us on the pay grade and in every other way, are not making the thoughtful, humane, best decisions. But we're all meant to kind of suck it up and just move on with it. So that's what happened on Friday.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any sympathy for the politicians, or is it kind of they've messed up?
Do I have sympathy? I mean, listen, it's a tricky old world, and I'm not saying that I could have done any better or any other political party could have done better. Here's what I think they've done in terms of letting themselves down. Yes, this has been an unprecedented situation. However, the rest of the world was dealing with it for weeks and months before we did. Nobody thought, hello, let's learn. Everyone always talks about, let's learn from Sweden, let's learn from Finland, let's learn from these other fabulous countries when it comes to education. But when it came to a pandemic and a murderous virus, nobody thought, let's learn from any of the countries. Really? Come on, guys. And then to have 5 weeks in checkers with your feet up, refusing to go to key meetings. Let's put it this way. If I refused to go to a senior leadership meeting and it all went to rats at my school, I think I would probably be, and rightly be, sacked. And then also just thinking about it, like if I just flouted all the rules and thought, yeah, I'll have all my family over on Saturday, forget the local lockdown, I'd be slapped with a big fine. But some of the top dudes down in Westminster got away with all kinds, and then publicly lied, wasted all of our time and money. And now here we are many months later. And when people say, oh, well, other countries haven't done, I'm like, yeah, but, you know, we're an island. New Zealand's an island. We just have to look at them. They've probably done it a lot better. I'm not saying they want to live in New Zealand. It'd be nice. But I think there are other ways that this could have been handled. Hasn't been. And now the state of us, everything's upside down. You've got people on lockdown, people out of business, losing their homes. The whole place is a mess. And this will be like the post-war. We'll be paying for this now for the rest of our generation, certain.
Definitely.
So I think they've let themselves. And that's not because I'm anti-Tory. It's just because I just think whoever's done this is
they've messed it up. Yeah. I hear you. Dr. Vic for PM.
Oh no! I can barely run a school. Barely be a soldier.
Now, just to finish off as last little bit, but it interests me because back in June and July there was an issue of kind of vandalisation at your school. Yes, we agree. Dr. Vic for Prime Minister. So I know there was an issue of vandalisation. You know, you can talk me through in a minute, but your response to it interested me at the time because in a world of kind of I don't know, assigning responsibility to young people is something that maybe, you know, we've lost track of, shall we say, in some respects. And you originally posted that you were really angry about what had happened, and then you got a backlash, and then you tweeted, my apologies if I've offended anyone by posting about the vandalism to our school. I'm apparently unprofessional for doing so. The people who did this are little, small-minded being my meaning. Anyone who's big would never have done it. Now, can you tell me a little more about not just what happened, but about your kind of philosophy that kind of might tie into that? Yeah,
so the PTA at my school, who are all absolutely exceptional. Lots of PTAs are, by the way. You know, the work they do is voluntary, and they try and encourage everybody involved in your school to donate money. And in times of austerity, that can be quite a challenge. And our PTA are just brilliant. And they're always thinking outside the box and thinking about children and parents. So there's these lovely, lovely people who've invested time and effort and money into buying some, like, I suppose, a little bit like my outdoor garden shed gym. They'd bought this outdoor garden shed book library for our children. So if on a sunny day, the children could go open the shed, choose some books. And one of my lovely teachers, Laura, who's actually now one of my senior leaders, she'd invested all this time trying to set it all up. So it was really cool. Like, you open it, it had these great cushions and all gorgeous things inside. And I love stuff like that. And the kids were all like, oh, they're excited to go in. So they'd put in a lot of time and effort and thought, and the children did use it. So imagine then in the middle of lockdown, everyone was completely threadbare, their nerves were gone anyway, to rock up to school one morning. And I'd gone in really early. So I don't know, like maybe it was 7 o'clock. It was kind of darkish, but it was early. And I thought, why on earth's all this? And it was all stuff strewn all around the place. So I went around the back, couldn't understand it. And they basically trashed the entire area. So there were books everywhere, all ripped, all soaked because it had rained. There was rubbish. They'd upturned all the rubbish behind the kitchens. You have to dispose of like cooking oil. You can't just chuck it in the bin or down the drain. So they had all, and that oil was everywhere. And I was livid. I was so angry. I thought, who has done this to my school? And it's one of those moments, like I said earlier, where you're really passionate. I was like, this is my school. How dare they? Who's done this to my school?
Yeah.
And then I was really angry. I was so angry. I was like crying with anger. I don't know if you've ever been like that, but you know, like you're like, how
all the time, every morning, actually. Yeah.
So then I thought, this is bad. You know, it's lockdown. I'm going to be ringing the police. I'm going to be putting them out, and they should be out dealing with actual crime. And I was so angry. I was like, that's it. I'm going to tweet this. Everyone needs to know I'm going to go to the police. So bless. Okay, so all the kids, right, had been painting these pebbles and put them in a snake along the road outside our school because they weren't allowed in. So they'd plop a pebble down outside, and the snake was getting longer and longer and longer. And you know, they'd like damaged all of that and chucked it all around. And I just felt so angry on behalf of the children and the staff and the PTA. So I tweeted this out. Whoever these small people were, they should be ashamed of themselves. I can't remember exactly what I said. Something like they've embarrassed themselves and their families. Because to be fair, as a parent, if one of my children had done that, I would be scandalized. I'd be so embarrassed. In fact, it would blow my mind to think that they would do something so antisocial. But anyway, so the majority of people, gonna say about 99 out of 100 people, were like, how awful, that's terrible. And then one person said, how unprofessional for a head teacher to talk like this about children. Well, I don't know if it was children, youths, adults, what. But so I was like, oh, maybe I was a bit unprofessional. Maybe I shouldn't have been so angry. Maybe that was one time that I shouldn't have sent that tweet out. However, the police took it seriously. And lo and behold, loads of parents then, and also residents of our road, contacted us to say my car was vandalized, this and that and the other was vandalized outside. So they hadn't just done it to our school. They'd like gone along and you know, we're in a nice area. Tom, is it okay if my daughter walks past really quickly?
Yeah.
Go. So I was really aggrieved. Anyway, so other people kind of said to this person, actually, that's not unprofessional. So I didn't get into a conflict about that. I actually thought maybe that was one of those times that I shouldn't have tweeted. And then my senior team were going, no, you absolutely should. You are angry because you're angry about our lovely school that we invest time in and money in. And then somebody put in there that I should have been more emotionally intelligent, and that the emotionally intelligent response would have been to have empathy for the perpetrators. And then I paused and thought, actually, I probably should have empathy. And it's not that I don't have empathy for the perpetrators, because often children who are out vandalizing and trashing things are really unhappy kids, and they come from unhappy places, or they're just plain old unhappy for whatever reason. So maybe that wasn't the best response. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe it wasn't the greatest of tweets, but at least it raised the profile of what happened.
I disagree with all that, though. I disagree with all that. Unsurprisingly, I'm sure that you'd think that, but I just thought you were showing your emotion, you were showing your passion, and you were having a very human response to something that was completely out of order. I mean, obviously,
I do think
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying about different kids and struggling, but for me, it's like, it's a terrible thing that happened. And for me, you were just saying what any person would have said, and then you were being attacked for it, which is classic Twitter, really. But you're having people saying you're unprofessional, but I don't think I don't think I just thought it was a natural. Imagine you come on and said, well, you know what, today's events have really made me realize how difficult, things have been for the people who destroyed our school. I just don't think that would have been a suitable response to that situation. I thought the response you had was normal, but maybe that's just me.
Maybe. I mean, I think I don't know. I think there's two different elements to that. I think often, and I guess I'm a bit like this on my social media. I do share personal stuff on both LinkedIn and on Twitter, because gone are the days of hero leaders. These people who are like robots who aren't ever who aren't
listen, BSN teacher, listen. I have the problem is when I'm talking to another plastic scouser, my plastic scouse comes out more. So that's That's what's happening here. That's what's happening here.
I think I'm full on Scouse. You cannot come from Toxteth and not be full on Scouse. You can't. You just can't.
You haven't got.
I'm old. I have lived around the world, literally, like Phileas Fogg, almost 80 years. Okay, maybe half that.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, I think a lot of people just assume that the headmistress should be aloof and cold and I don't know, like a robot and not have any passion. Clary cuts. I'm not talking in my posh voice. What I'm not doing is swearing. And one of your questions earlier, Tom, was how much of you in your work is an act? And everybody fell about laughing. They were like, Vic, you are the same with your children as you are at school, as you are with parents. It's like, and they said to me, I don't think you could be anyone different if you tried.
I'll be honest with you, Vic. I missed that question out because I knew what the answer would be, so I missed it out. I didn't even bother asking you. It was on the list. I was like, I'm not even going to bother with that one now because I think you know what the answer is going to be.
I did sit for ages and think, I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad, but I guess, being authentic is not a bad thing. But yeah, so in terms of, that whole vandalism thing, I'm not picking on kids. I get it. I get trauma.
But that was ridiculous. You weren't picking on kids. I mean, sorry. I just, it still makes me angry. Actually, it really, like, excuse my language. It really pissed me off at the time because you were getting absolutely mullered by people who don't have a clue. Like, they didn't have a clue. Like, no disrespect to anyone, but yeah. Anyway, it's like. Yeah, it's like imagine Sir Alex Ferguson, right, walks into Man United and someone's destroyed his changing rooms. Yeah, he's not going to react like, "Oh, I'm completely like this is." People expect everyone to just be cool about it. It's not cool. It's not cool. Anyway, I'll quit my rant now. You've explained it much better than me and much more calmly. That was actually the last question I was going to ask about your son, but we kind of touched on that earlier on about him going off and.
Run over time and everyone will be switching off like, come on.
No, I just you touched on it and I just thought, I mean, I know you've been upset about your son going off to I thought it was university, didn't I? But he's gone off to the army, hasn't he?
He's gone to army college in Harrogate. And again, you said a moment ago with Twitter, people will jump all over you. And I guess that's true. But what they will also do, or certainly to me anyway, is they will be very supportive and
massively.
I broke my heart over the weekend. My God, I didn't know. I wasn't prepared for that at all. This whole transition into the next phase of motherhood is. I don't think I transitioned into motherhood particularly easily. Kind of thought, oh, what is this? This is a child. Oh my God. And now he's responsible for him. And then I got another one within a year and I was like, oh my God. So I wouldn't say I was like the earth mother type, but then coming out the other side and now he's ready to be a man. And I'm just like, dropping him off. I thought my heart was actually going to break out of my chest. And then, yes, I'm proud, but it's a challenge. So yeah, he's joined the army college. He's not yet 17. He'll be 17 next month. And I think the COVID thing, like I said before, the reason I was so threaders on Friday was because of my sister and my mother and
of course.
Everything. But also, my son, I didn't have the greatest of starts in life. I really didn't. And, that TED Talk obviously explains a few things about that. But I want to do things.
You can see the TED, if anyone wants to watch it, it's your pin tweet.
Just listen to my wobbly voice, but I think
it's really good. It's really good.
Talks about some stuff that happened, and it makes me want to be a better mom. It makes me want to be a good mom and a good human, and because I know the importance of good parenting. I'm not necessarily convinced I experienced that as a kid, but I really want to do that for my kids. And so to just drop and go, it felt brutal yesterday. I wanted to make sure he was in his room and settled. I couldn't do it. COVID, the policeman coming over saying, right, come on, you lot on you. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not how it should be. But I'm over it, today. And as I say, my team are fantastic. And loads of parents at my school, they're so gorgeous. Honestly, they've reached out and they've emailed me and they've tweet messaged me, whatever you call it, inbox me, and said, thinking about you and those sorts of things matter. So the whole being authentic thing on Twitter, on your social media, I can't be anything other than me. You know, I like my stuff. I'm old enough now to think I'm a bit old to change. If people don't like me, I don't mind. But if, you know, it's nice of them to reach out. And I don't want anyone thinking that this is an easy job or a job for people with no feelings. So they get to see the whole me. They get to see, so they get to see the real me. There's no hidden bit.
Well, everyone can see that. Listen, Vic, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for agreeing to the interview, for being part of my school leader interview series. It was excellent, some amazing stories, brilliant stories, and thanks so much for giving up your time, because I know how busy you are. And I just think, well, I'll post some of the comments. People have been enjoying the interview as well. Claire, well done, and Daniel is.
Already got your pay rise cuts. Come on, man, you don't have to put comments.
And don't you dare call us guys. I'll tell you what. That was when I was 15 walking around Birkenhead. Not now. Come on. All right. Cheers, everyone. And I'll be back on Thursday evening for another school leader interview episode. I keep getting the episodes mixed up. I think episode 6 is on Thursday evening.
More professional and profound and interesting than me, Tom, is it? Shall I watch it and get some tips?
You need to start with this imposter syndrome. Seriously. Every comment you put, I hope your senior team's watching, because every comment you say, whether it's the army, whether it's your age, like, just got to accept the greatness. All right. Cheers, everyone. And I'll catch you again soon. Cheers.